Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Dominions 4, Thrones of Ascension, and this is another mod and map showcase. The map we're showcasing today is Jumaleisson by brtzd, or brtzd, however that is pronounced. And it is a cool map where brtzd announced in the forum that he was just playing around with design elements, and he was just trying to see what different, I guess, satellite imagery and other stuff would look like. And I think it is a really cool, really beautiful map. It's a good number of provinces. The only thing I noticed that I would even consider a criticism is that there are no farmland provinces, and I think that's it. There's swamp, there's forest. I don't think there's plains, but I think plains, farmland are the same thing. So that's something. But other than that, it's been a fantastic map, and I've enjoyed testing out this mod nation on it. So once again, that's Jumaleisson by brtzd, and I will have a link to it in the description as always. But now we are going to the mod nation itself. This nation is EA Lagos Fu Inle by Globu, and I have had the good fortune in the recent past to have been able to interact quite a bit with Globu as we were both working together helping PieMouse with his Ledane mod. And Globu is an asset, a huge asset to the Dominions 4 community. He is, as far as I could tell, trained either as a professional copywriter or an English professor or something along those lines, because he is very articulate, and as you can tell by reading the descriptions of the units and spells and ideas of this nation, he just really has a knack for putting words down on paper or on screen, as the case may be. This mod is incredibly lush, detailed, and complex, and there's little intricacies that you get from reading the descriptions, and I don't want to spoil it really for anybody, so I'm just going to show off the units quickly, and of course you can pause the screen and read the descriptions, but I'm not going to be doing that. I highly recommend you just go and download this mod and play with it. But let's take a look at what they're about. So, where are we here? So I created the pretender Mr. Fluffy Wubbles, and Mr. Fluffy Wubbles is not the best choice for a pretender for this nation. I did it, as I always do, in order to be able to summon all of the nation's special summons. But in reality, Globu has spoken with me and let me know that what he recommends, because there are recruit anywhere pretty decent sacred units, a bless strategy. Primarily a bless strategy focusing on water or nature, and he says the Lady of Streams, the pretender chassis, is one of his favorites for this nation, although it is not one of the pretenders that he created for this nation. Now, I will be showing you in a little bit all of the pretenders he created because I think they're really neat and I want to give them a moment. I'm going to, of course, have to exit out and create a new game, but by the magic of YouTube Let's Play videos, I can do that instantaneously for you on the watching end. So, you know what? Why don't we just go ahead and do that right now? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here are the pretenders of Lagos. Now, first of all, I want to start with the ones that were created just for this nation. You have the Lord of the Sun, which is 2 fire, 1 nature to start with. Awe, fire resistant, poison resistant, heat effect, ethereal, flying, and a fire shield. So this is Frith Ra, Lord of the Sun. This is the main god of this nation. Then you have the Lord of the Moon, kind of a secondary god of the nation. I believe it's Lord Inle, right? And so he has air, astral, and death, a fear effect, shock and cold resistant, and poison, ethereal, changed shapes, flying, glamorous, and he comes with a bodyguard of 2 Auslas of Inle. So this is the Black Rabbit. And then we have Mr. Fluffy Wubbles, or the Lapine Arch Druid, who also comes with 2 Auslas of Inle. And he has fire and nature. And the reason I chose this particular chassis from my pretender was so that I could get all the different magical paths to cast these spells. But again, Globu recommends a bless strategy. I say again because I might have already said that but it might be the first time you heard it because I'm recording this after I recorded the whole rest of the... Well, you get the idea. But what Globu has done, however, is he's taken over pretenders that already existed, and he's made some funny modifications to them. Not Irminsul, however, but the Lord of Fecundity, and for those of you at home who are young or particularly innocent, fecundity means fertility, basically, how able you are to rear offspring. And so, having found in the Lapine people an unparalleled example of fecundity, as being rabbits, they breed like, well, rabbits, is set before the world, he has taken them under his protection and seeks to lead them to dominion over the world. Or we have the Lady of Streams, and she, being attracted by the oddly appealing recitations of a Hellesal poet, I believe that is something about the lore of these people that I am not aware of, she has decided to be the stream that takes the Lapine people with her. So again, water and nature, the preferred blessed choice of Globu for this nation. Then we have the Horned One, which is a little bit of tongue-in-cheekness here. As Lord of Beasts, Berserkers, and Wild Revelry, he is also known as the Horny One. When he made an attempt on a mistress of the Pantocrator, he was trapped in a magic forest for eternity with beasts as only company. I think maybe he means with only beasts as company, because with beasts as only company implies that he expects more from the beasts than just company, and that is kind of gross. But, there you go. Then we have the Lord of the Wild. Lord of the Wild! He attracts human females, and his Lapine charges, in a life of revelry to which the parents of the human females would surely disapprove. Oh, no, I'm sorry. These are the female humans. Right. Having assisted a lesser god in the creation of the Lapine people from the mere forest animals, he has taken them under his protection. The Titan of Love. The Titan of Love is a giant of divine heritage, impressed by unmatched amorousness of the fecund Lapine people, that is, they make lots of babies. She has adopted them as her people in her bid for ascension. She is also water and nature, so I guess you could use her in place of the Lady of Streams, if you chose to. The Lady of Fortune, seeing in the Lapine people an ages-old symbol of good fortune. Remember, lucky rabbit's foot? Ha 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 ha. Good one, Globu. She has taken them as her charges and now leads them in her bid for ascension. So now we have the Lapina, which I know there's a real pretender who looks sort of like this, but I think Globu went and changed it so there's little rabbits coming out of her. I think maybe before it was little wolves or little hound dogs, and that is water, nature, and blood. So again, a really nice chassis for a bless if you're into that sort of thing. And she was cursed by a pretender god or previous Pantocrator with not only a hideous form, but a ridiculous one. Once beautiful beyond belief, she now appears as a woman with the lower body of a huge serpent. From the serpent grow 6 eager giant rabbits with razor-sharp teeth that hunger for parsley and berries. With few others who will worship her, she has settled upon leading the Lapine people in her bid for ascension. They, at least, take her seriously. I don't know, man. If I saw a giant snake woman with rabbits coming out of her chasing me down in a field, I'd take her pretty dang seriously myself. I don't believe that any of the other pretender chassis have been edited, though you may find an Easter egg that I perhaps have missed. Ha ha ha! Easter egg. Rabbits. I'm doing it too now. That's amazing. Alright, well, now that we've done this, let's go back and look at the rest of the nation. Okay, we're back. Well, you're back. I haven't left, but you understand. So now that we've looked at the pretender chassis, let's take a look and look at the units and commanders Globu was put into this great nation. Oh, first, let's look at the special sites. There's the Great Warren, which produces 2 Earth per turn. There is Ephrafa. Now, as far as I understand it, Ephrafa is like a specific sub-community within the Lagos community that are especially good warriors and cops. They are into torture and thought police and things like that, so they're kind of an interesting sub-faction. And then you have the Forest of Inle, gives you 2 nature, 2 astral, and allows you to recruit the Moon Warrior and the Priest of Inle. So all of the Ephrafa units and the 2 priests, well, the Moon Warrior and the Priest of Inle, are capital recruitment only, but everything else is recruit anywhere. So you have a number of different, these are rabbits, by the way, in case you had any curiosity there. So let's talk about the commanders. First you have the Lapine Tracker, or Lapine. It's the technical word for rabbit, and I don't know how to pronounce it. But basic scout, nothing too special about him. Then you have the Owlza Captain. Now the Owlza, or Owlza, are kind of like the warrior caste of the Lapine people. So that is shown here in that they have a siege bonus, castle defense bonus, and a little bit of inspiration. Otherwise, they are pretty standard in terms of statistics, though they do have a higher than normal magic resistance and a higher than normal defense skill. Then you have a Storyteller. Storyteller is your basic priest mage, 1 nature, 1 holy, with a 10% chance of 1 air. They can also lead troops, and they do have a little bit of inspiration. You don't want them to research. They are very crappy at that. Then we have the Seer. Now this gentleman you do want to research. They're relatively inexpensive. They have Fortune Teller, so it's good to have them sitting in your cities. And they have negative inspiration, and they can't lead anybody, so even if they could by chance lead somebody, well, I guess a magical, no, they can't even lead that. So I guess the negative inspiration is just thematic and doesn't really affect gameplay, but they do have the best research for a cheapy 1 turn only commander, so I use them as my main research base. They do have a 20% chance of an extra astral and a 20% chance of earth. So that would actually, if I recall correctly, that is actually the perfect paths for the spell Gifts of Heaven. So if you get a communion going with these guys, you can spam Gifts of Heaven, which is quite nice. Then you have a Trickster. Trickster is kind of your basic 1-turn summon mage. They are a Beastmaster. They have inspiration, but low leadership. So take that for what it is. Dark Vision, supply bonus due to the nature magic. 2 nature, 1 air, and a chance, 100% chance of air, earth, or nature, and a 20% chance of the same. So they could conceivably have 4 nature. They could also conceivably have 3 air, and if you're really lucky, 2 earth. They also shape change into a charming rabbit, and they have glamour. Now this is very interesting. I think I have a charming rabbit here somewhere. Thought I did. Let's see. I'll just do it. Okay, here is a charming rabbit. It is a teeny tiny little rabbit, and apparently this rabbit is incredibly charming because it can seduce human women, which I'm sure a lot of human men would like that ability. I guess the thematic background of it is kind of like, oh, look at the cute little fluffy rabbit, I just want to pet it and hug it and love it. Although it's saying here that these rabbits are so canny that they're able to even get young women to enter into the rabbit holes and traverse the tunnels they're in. I highly doubt that, because the holes would have to be quite large, but I believe this is a facetious reference to the story Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. That's what I think, anyway. Then we have the Priest of Frith, where we're starting to get to the slow to recruit guys. 2 fire, 1 earth, 2 nature, 2 priest, and 20% chance of air and nature, 20% of fire and earth. And they're independent of each other, so you can conceivably get both, 1 or none of them. And a little bit of inspiration with him too, and pretty decent leadership. Frankly, in the late game, I was having these, well, late test, I was having these guys lead my troops as opposed to the Owlzas who I had up to that point. And then you have the Ephraphran officer. They have amazing leadership, but still just +1 inspiration. I think to kind of separate them out from the Owlzas, you might want to give them +2, but they do have Taskmaster +2, which I don't think actually does anything, because I don't believe any of the recruitable Lapine or Lapine troops are slaves, and Taskmaster, as far as I understand it, only works against slaves. But I get what he's going for. Dark Vision a little bit, patrol bonus, castle defense bonus, very good stats in general, good armor. And finally you have the Priest of Inle, who I guess is not capital only recruitment, or maybe the Priest of Inle is, it's the Priest of Frith who isn't, yeah. Anywho, he is slow to recruit, however, inspirational but poor leadership. He is a Priest level 1, Astral 2, Earth 1, Air 1, with 20% chance of air, earth, astral, 20% of air, earth, and death. And again, these are independent of each other. You can get both, you can get one, you can get none. So, if you're ridiculously lucky, you could potentially have 3 air or, well, 3 astral, I guess. 3 earth? 3 earth. 3 air, 3 earth, 3 astral. Good times. Gifts from heaven. Very fun. Oh, then they're stealthy too. I think they're all stealthy. Yeah, I think pretty much everyone in this entire nation is stealthy. So now we have the units. We have the Lapine Militia, your basic, really terrible unit, and I mean really terrible. Very low morale. You probably don't want to use these guys ever. Oh, and they're undisciplined. So yeah, I mean, unless you find yourself in a really bad place, I wouldn't recommend getting into these guys. You have the Skirmishers, though, who also have terrible morale and generally subpar stats, but what makes them neat is, like the Tritons under the sea, they have a special net attack. So if you want to throw them against really tough enemies, it will slow them down and lower the defense enough so that your stronger troops can probably do some damage to them in the meantime. Then we have the Long Bladesmen. They are still crappy in terms of stats, but they do have a length 4 long blade. And it's pierce and slash damage, so you want to use them against your tougher enemies that require a bit more. And they also can repel, but you want to give them a morale bonus in one way or another. Then you have the Lapine Spearmen, your typical unit. Again, poor morale in general, poor stats. Defense is good, magic resistance is good. They do have a javelin they can throw. And now you get to the Ausla. They have a standard. So you definitely want to disperse these gentlemen throughout your other armies of regular troops. That's a good way to do it to get the morale up to decent levels. Other than that, they're just a pretty solid unit. Really great defense, good magic resistance. In fact, they'd be one of the top units of any race with the exception of the lower hit points. Then you have the... where was I? Alza. So you have the Sun Warrior. Sun Warrior has Animal Awe, which is very situational, I've found, but he is a sacred unit, and he does have a standard effect of 1, and a Bodyguard. So you definitely want to recruit a lot of these guys to bodyguard your commanders, and if you're going with what Globu recommends, a Bless strategy, you're definitely going to want to pump out a lot of these guys. And they have a magical sword as well, a golden sword that does magic damage, because they are the priests of the Sun God. So then you have the Efrafan Auslafa. So that is basically a unit that does not have a standard but is a formation fighter and is a pretty tough customer in many respects, although still 9 hit points only. And they also have a patrol bonus. If you're blood hunting, which you could possibly do in this nation because they have blood summons, these guys are the guys you want to patrol and take care of that. Then you have the Efrafan Warrior. Now these guys are great. Bodyguard, formation, standard, and they have amazing stats. They are the best recruitable unit in the game, but they do have limited recruitment. You're going to want as many of them as you can. In fact, the whole game, I didn't even recruit any of the basic troops. I mean, this wasn't much of a game. I ran over Calum, but basically, I just, as you can see here, this is what I did every turn. I recruited as many of the Moon Warriors as I could, which is 4. I don't know. Actually, this isn't what I was doing. I don't know where this came. What the heck? Yeah, 4 Moon Warriors, and then 8 Efrafan, or 4 Efrafan Warriors, because you can only do 4 of each, and then 8 of the Efrafan Auslafa. And then finally I had 1 Sun Warrior as well. So the Moon Warrior is a sacred unit as well. It is glamorous, has a patrol bonus, and bodyguard, and formation fighter. So you definitely just want a mixture of all of these guys. He also has a golden spear, which is really cool. This guy, the Efrafan Warrior, does not have a magical weapon, so these 2 blokes here have that. So those are your recruitable troops. And I mean, I guess the strategy really, if you either go with a bless strategy like Globu recommends, or you go with a scale strategy and you intersperse the standard units in with the cheapy units and then have them led with an inspirational commander, maybe forge an inspirational item to keep them on the battlefield. And I believe here that Globu put in all of his own unit names because they have very rabbity type names like Radish and Lily and Silverweed, Dandelion, Rose Petal. I know those aren't typical Dominions names, so I think he really went through all the trouble to create a whole group of names for this nation's units. So let's move up here. I had to jump all the way up here to find a forest in order to do much of my summons. And I believe the summoning is broken in this version. Globu actually had to send me a version that doesn't have any terrain requirements in order to get some of the summons out, because for some reason they weren't working for me. It may be due to the latest version of Dominions, or it may be due to something I personally did, but I know Globu is committed to fixing it when fixing it becomes a possibility. So despite not taking luck scales, I did receive one of the heroes, which I will show you here, Hirairu, and he is a high seer, old age, but high level fortune teller, sacred unit, 2 earth, 3 astral, and dun 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 dun, level 3 priest. So hopefully if you get this hero, you can claim thrones, you can cast divine blessing, a lot of neat stuff you can do with this guy. And I'm not entirely... This may be a multi-hero, in that you can get more than one of them. It doesn't say anything in the description about the name Hirairu, so it's possible... It's possible you can have more than one. I'm not entirely sure. So let's talk about the summons, of which there are quite a few. First thing you get in level 2 is seabirds, great gulls, herd of rabbits, and just regular rabbits. So let's take a quick look at that. This is a great gull. He is a giant, well, gull. And he is gluttonous, great patrol bonus, beastmaster, and sacred. He can lead 40 units. He has a beak and talons, and pretty decent stats except for protection, which is very similar to most animals. And he leads seagulls. So yeah, they are also sacred, and they fly, but otherwise pretty poor stats. What you would expect from a seagull, and strangely enough, while their leader has a patrol bonus, the seagulls themselves have a negative or a malus to patrolling. So yeah. And again, I'm not reading the descriptions, but please pause the screen and read them, or play the game yourself, because these descriptions are so well done. I mean, Globu, he should stop whatever it is that he does for a living and just write descriptions for Dominions mods. That is the position for him in life. So, and then what was the other one I said? The rabbits. So then we have... Oh, jackalopes, little jackalopes. Those are rabbits with horns, and they are sacred. And just your regular little bunnies who are undisciplined. Jackalopes, are you undisciplined? No, they're disciplined jackalopes, so that is fantastic. That's later down in the tree, though. So we've shown the rabbits. So now we have plague bearers, neck beasts, and jackalopes. Well, I've shown you the jackalopes. Let's look at the plague bearers and the neck beasts. So the neck beasts are... surprise, surprise, giraffes. And they are sacred as well. They have a patrol bonus of 2. My guess is because their necks are so long, they can see quite far. And so they are good at patrolling. And despite how in the description it says they can crush an opponent's armor and bone at once, they are not a trample unit. They simply have 2 large hooves with blunt damage that they use to great effect. You probably want to cast a protection spell on them, though, if you have access to it, which your mages for this nation do. And then finally, the plague bearers. Plague bearers look like humans, I suppose. There are men. They're men sickened with the disease. So they are plague carriers, undisciplined. They are slaves. Okay, so your slave unit, the Efrafan commander guy, I guess, could lead these guys with a bonus. Though why you would need to, I don't know, since their morale is already quite high. And they are poison resistant. They have a special plague attack. So right now they're in this province of mine, they're cursing and plaguing everyone, which is fantastic. Those are our plague bearers. And I showed you the neck beast. So let's continue on. Plague messenger. It's actually a jerk spell. Let's see, 2 death and 1 nature. I can probably set that up. Trickster spirit. And Call of Noodaloo is just a bunch of neck beasts. Okay, so this fellow here, Milkweed, is the trickster spirit. Now he breaks you into death magic. You have 1 air, 2 astral, and 2 death. He is sacred and a poor amphibian, because he's undead, ethereal, glamorous, and an assassin. So a quite versatile unit, actually, with a 30-point sleep touch attack. I didn't actually play enough to really use this, but I can see how this is quite versatile and can be used for many things. No leadership, of course, so you're probably going to want to go either the battle mage or assassin route with him. But still, great unit. I mean, if you're skilled at this sort of thing, perhaps you can make a decent thug out of him since he starts with Ethereal right out the gate and Glamour. There's definitely thugging potential, especially if you have a Bless that can add hit points, and yeah, maybe a Water Bless and a Nature Bless would be really good on this guy. Although a Blood Bless would be interesting as well. Okay, so that's a Trickster Spirit, and let's see if we can cast the Jerk spell. It was Death and Nature. Maybe Mr. Fluffy Wubbles is the only one who can cast that. Let's see. Plague Messenger. Okay. Let's just cast it here. Eat it, Calum. But we haven't shown you everything yet, so let's continue to do so. In the Alteration Tree, you have some spells here. You have some battlefield spells, Dreadhounds, and Dogs in the Woods is a Jerk spell version of it. What does that require? 2 Nature and an Earth. Let's just go down to the capital here. Rose Petal, would you do me the honor, please, of... oh, right, Alteration. Dogs in the Woods. And I can't go very far, so we're just going to cast it. We'll cast it on the Mire of Mystery against these hapless Amazons. Okay, cool. Oh, wait, oops. That was Alteration, wasn't I? Then we have Plague Dogs, which is also a Jerk spell. Wait, did we just cast that, right? Uh-huh. Or did we? Is that what we cast? No, we cast Dreadhounds. No, that's the battlefield spell. We did cast Plague Dogs, didn't we? What were we casting? Yes. Plague Dogs. Okay. Moving down to Evocation. This is where things get interesting. You have a spell called White Blindness, which thematically the rabbits have poor vision. So in order to be competitive against other creatures, they have to cast this spell, which basically diseases the victim and blinds them. And that you'll see there are other spells that kind of work in tandem with it in other paths where they put mist on the battlefield as well. So that's with enchantment. Yes, obscuring mists. So you bathe the whole battlefield in mist to make it easier for your, well, not easier for your people to see, but harder for the enemy to see. And then Harrowing Mists of Inle is a spell where there's a thick fog in the battlefield out of which phantasmal Lapine soldiers and beasts coalesce and join in the battle. I'm not going to show you that, though. You're going to have to get that one on your own. Then there's the Consecrate Seer Totem. This is a Seer Totem. It is basically a rabbit statue. It reduces unrest, which is quite nice. Fortune Teller. It is blind, has a patrol bonus, never heals, doesn't need to eat as it is a lifeless statue, but is a magical being. It is sacred, has 1 heir and 2 astral and 2 priest. So, as a defensive stalwart, this gentleman can etherealize your troops and Sermon of Courage them. That would be a good use of him. And he is amphibian, being a statue. Alright, so then we have Thaumaturgy, Retinue of Inle. That is a battlefield spell, which I cannot cast, but it summons Ghost Auslas to aid you in battle. Invocation of Tharn is also a battlefield spell. And it... Dread Paralyzing Fear. Okay, cool. And then you can call the Ausla of Inle, which is also a battlefield spell, which gives you more spectral Auslas. And then a Dream Visitation of Inle is a ritual spell. Ooh, okay. That requires Astral 2 and 1 Priest, does it? I have just the man for that. Dream Visitation of Inle. Let us also send that to our friends in Calum, who we love so much. Alright, wonderful. Finally, we are at Blood Magic, where you have Sylphlay of Blood, which gives you a Blood Warrior and Blood Illil Demons, I guess, whatever that is. And then you have the Kara Hasaras here, which are a tribe of Rakshasa who resemble rabbits, and the Kara Raja. And I totally screwed that up, but please forgive me. I think I have those here. This gentleman here is a Kara Haraja. He is a ambidextrous, which means he can use a weapon in both hands. He's an inept researcher, a demon, stealthy, and he comes with 1 blood out the gate. He is sacred. But he can be banished, but like all of these creatures, he has high magic resistance. And let's see, what else do we have here? Plague Bearers, we've seen those already. So these are the Karahasaras, the troop versions of those guys. Demons, Sacred, Need Not Eat, Ambidextrous. Ultimately, very good scales, or stats. Very good stats. And here's the Blood Warriors, the retinue of the leader. Just like the other guys, only they cause unrest, unfortunately. They are gluttonous, but they go berserk, which is good. And they have 2 falcons and a javelin. And that is that for all the summoned guys. Oh, and here's the Blood Ilil demon. You get 1 of them when you summon the group of blood guys, and that is, he's a demon as well, but he regenerates. This so pretty decent. Well, I would say thug, but I forgot that he is just a standard line unit. So undisciplined, causes unrest. Put him at the front of the battle lines and let them tear into the enemy. Okay. I apologize, this is going to be a very long mod showcase, but there is just so very much to showcase. Let's end the turn. And let's see how all of our spells went. Okay, Dream Visitation of Inle. Inle? So it is a Azla of Inle. His name is Nutmeg, which is fantastic. Formation Fighter, even though he fights alone. Ethereal, Standard, and he causes fear, which is awesome, and Sacred. So as you can see, tons of Sacred troops. You definitely want to consider pursuing a blessed strategy. In fact, look at him. He took him out, just like that. Dogs in the Woods. Apparently we cannot see what happened in that one, though, unfortunately. That I should have thought about that. Or maybe. Mire of Mystery. This is our attack. This is the Dread Hounds. Fear, berserking, undisciplined animals. Great morale, great magic resistance, lower than average defense, and, of course, crappy protection, being as they are animals. We're not going to watch that. And Walden, where I hear there is a nice pond, we've summoned... Okay, so these are just the same Plague Bearer units that we have already seen, that we were able to summon ourselves. This is just a remote version of that spell. And our force is defeating the attacking force of Calum. Oh wow, Calum has the area troops now. Oh, I guess they must have edited all of them. Alright. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the recruitable and summonable and jerk-spellable commanders and troops of the nation of Lagos, Fu Inle. So, in closing, I just want to say that I am overawed by the amount of work and love that went into this nation. Again, if nothing else, just get it and read the descriptions, because they are fantastic and well thought out, often humorous. This is a full nation. There is nothing here that has been left out. It's just well done. It's got its own lore. It fits with Dominions, but it doesn't have to. It stands perfectly well on its own. Honestly, Globu is just a virtuoso, and we can only hope that in the future he decides to produce more mods. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a good one.